Hey gang, welcome back to the channel. Today I thought it'd be cool to take a look at some guitar repair and setup tools that I think are essential to have, if you're going to do your own work, on your own guitars. Most of these things I consider essential. There are a few things that, while they might not be essential, I think they're very handy to have on hand. Now you may notice a lot of these things I'm going to show you are from the company MusicNomad, and that's not because MusicNomad is sponsoring this or they sent me some stuff, because they didn't. It's just they have a really good selection of tools and accessories that can help you, and their prices usually seem pretty decent.
So right off the bat, I think one of the most important things is probably a good work area. I ended up using this Husky tool chest so I could combine a work surface with a place to keep all the tools and all the crap that goes along with working on guitars. So next up are towels, and I go through a lot of towels. I use two different kinds. I use like a high quality towel, and then I use just cheap towels, cheap work towels you can buy at like Home Depot for cleaning fretboards or polishing frets or something like that. That's going to make them grungy. But as far as the what I call the nice towels, I go with two different kinds. One is this Ernie ball towel. And the other one is the MusicNomad towel. They're both priced about the same and are both really, really high quality. But they're very, very soft and they won't scratch anything. Next up is a really handy tool. I call them an X wrench. I don't know exactly what the name of them are, but I use this one here. And these are cheap enough to keep a couple handy. And you'd be surprised how handy this type of wrench can really be.
So next on the list would be a neck cradle, and the one I use is the MusicNomad one here. You can use it, on a couple different sides, for different, depths of necks, but you can also use it to put tools in and stuff like that. I don't use it like that because, when you want to use it as a neck cradle, you got to take all the tools out. So pretty much just, always leave mine on my desk like that, but very, very handy to have that. So next up would be a wide variety of hand tools. Obviously, my tool drawers are very unorganized. It doesn't bother me. I'm sure it would bother a lot of people. But I tend to know, what drawer has what in it. So when I'm looking for something, it doesn't take me too long to find it. But, wire cutters, wrenches, pliers, screwdrivers of various types, Phillips head, flathead, different sizes, Allen wrenches, just everything that you would need. And on that subject, for as far as Allen wrenches go, for doing truss rod adjustments, I like these long T-handle ones. It allows you to get down, in between the strings, and you can turn it easily, and just makes it easier for that. But that's what I like for those. But a good selection of hand tools is definitely necessary.
Something else that I always have on hand is some steel wool, and I always use the ultrafine 4-0 steel wool, which is great for polishing up fret wire, and you can even use it to soften the fretboard edge and fret ends a little bit. But it's very handy and cheap to have on hand. It's also nice to have some kind of string winder on hand, and most guitars have one of these anyway. I have some of these little manual ones, but I also have the one in this little wireless drill here that comes in very handy. So most guitars have their preference of cleaners and polish. I've used a bunch over the years and used to use this Dunlop stuff here, but recently have switched over to the MusicNomad 1 polish, which I find very, very nice. And also their F1 oil, which is their fretboard oil, is also very, very good.
Now, I think one of these magnetic trays is very, very useful and very handy to have for keeping little screws in, especially when you're working on something. But as you can see, I tend to just keep mine loaded with various little screws and things like that. So it's just an easy place for me to look. When I'm looking for a certain little tiny screw. I also have a second one that I keep empty. So when I'm actually working on a guitar, if I take parts off the guitar, they go in the empty one. But this is just the one I keep, on top of my desk here, just to, make sure I always have a bunch of little tiny various screws handy.
Something else that's always handy is having some blue tape around. It's always good to have some of this around. I think there are all kinds of uses for it, from holding something down temporarily to taping over pickups, when using the steel wool on the fret ends or anything like that to keep the wool particles, off the magnets. Just very handy to have this around, and probably a lot of people already have this in the house anyway.
So the MusicNomad Nut Files are something that I use quite a bit, but I don't actually use them, in their, in their yellow holders here. I actually just pop them out and I use them like that. So it's easier to work with them, but I do keep them, in the holders here when I'm not using them. And keep them in the little case that they come with.
Another handy item that most people probably don't need, and to be honest, I don't use them as often as I probably should, but these fret protectors are nice. Actually, I guess they're more fretboard protectors, really, but they can be handy. And something to use with those is fret polish. And this is another item that I don't always use because honestly, most of the time, just using the steel wool is good enough. But this stuff is inexpensive, so I usually keep a tube handy as well.
So if you're going to be doing any soldering, having a good quality soldering iron is pretty essential. But I know a lot of people don't, do their own soldering or do their own electronics work. So I don't consider the soldering iron a necessity, but it is a very, very nice item to have. And I use mine quite a bit. And to get one where you can control the heat, I think is essential. The little handheld deals that you can buy like at Home Depot, they're good for something real quick. But if you're going to be doing a lot of, electronics work or, swapping in and out pickups a lot or anything like that, I think having a good quality one here, like I said, that you can control the heat on would be very beneficial.
A set of radius gauges can be useful if you do your own setups to help you make sure your saddles are set to the right radius. Obviously, you can use these to measure your fretboard if you aren't sure what the radius actually is. These MusicNomad radius gauges are nice because they're relatively cheap and they have the most common radiuses on them. I like to have these on hand as well. They're not a necessity though, but they are nice. So I'll have some affiliate links for the majority of these items down below in the description to make it easier on you to find, these items that I'm talking about.
So that'll about do it for the quick look of, tools and accessories that I think are handy to have when you do your own guitar work and setups. Now, not all these things, you necessarily need. And you don't necessarily have to get them all at the same time. You can add them to your collection, as time goes on. So you don't have to buy everything outright if you don't already have a lot of this stuff. And like I said, this is just my opinion on the things that I like to have and that I think are essential. I'm sure people out there have other things they think are essential that I, haven't named here. I'd love to hear what you guys out there think about the tools that I have mentioned here, and then also tools that maybe I didn't mention that you think are essential as well. So leave those down in the comments. I want to thank you for checking these out with me today. We'll see you next time.